Inside the airplane, the hijacker shot the co-pilot. Then he ordered the captain to fly toward the presidential palace and crash. In that moment, the captain understood. This was not a hijacking he could survive by simply obeying. This is the real story of VASP Flight 375. A Brazilian passenger flight hijacked in 1988 by a man who wanted to turn a civilian aircraft into a weapon of assassination. He wanted to kill a president. He wanted to use the airplane itself to do it. But there was one captain who refused to let that happen. And the choices he made would change the fate of everyone on board. On September 29, 1988, VASP Flight 375 was operating as a domestic flight in Brazil. It had begun earlier in Porto Velho, made several stops along the way, and was now flying its final leg from Belo Horizonte to Rio de Janeiro. To the people on board, it was supposed to be an ordinary trip. Some were likely heading home. Some were traveling for work. Some were probably tired, thinking about nothing more than landing safely and continuing with their day. No one imagined that one passenger had boarded that aircraft with a revolver hidden in his backpack and a completely different plan. His name was Raimundo Nonato Alves de Conceição. He was 28 years old, an unemployed tractor driver from one of Brazil's poorest regions. Brazil was in economic crisis. Inflation had exploded. Work was disappearing. And in Raimundo's mind, one man was responsible: President José Sarney. So Raimundo made a decision most people could never imagine making. He would seize a commercial airliner, force it toward the Palácio do Planalto, Brazil's presidential palace, and kill the president. He was not trying to escape. He was not asking for ransom. He had already accepted that he probably would not survive. About 20 minutes after takeoff from Belo Horizonte, he made his move. He announced the hijacking. When crew members tried to stop him, he opened fire. A flight attendant, Ronaldo Dias, was shot. And within seconds, the cabin of an ordinary passenger jet became a place of absolute terror. Inside a commercial airplane, there is almost nowhere to run. No real place to hide. No easy way to escape fear. Once gunfire starts, every passenger understands the same thing. They are trapped. Then Raimundo forced his way into the cockpit. And there he shot the co-pilot. Salvador Evangelista was killed on the spot. In a matter of moments, the cockpit of a civilian aircraft had become a murder scene in the sky. Now the captain was alone. His name was Fernando Murilo de Lima e Silva. Beside him was his dead colleague. Next to him stood an armed man who had already killed once and had no intention of backing down. Behind him sat a cabin full of terrified passengers. And somehow he still had to keep the airplane in the air. That is what makes this story so haunting. The hijacker's demand was not ordinary. He did not want money. He did not want safe passage. He wanted the captain to turn the airplane into an instrument of political murder. Which meant Captain Murilo understood something immediately. This was not the kind of hijacking that could be solved through simple compliance. If he obeyed, the disaster would only grow larger. Without the hijacker noticing, Captain Murilo reached for the transponder and entered code 7500. In aviation, that code means one thing: hijacking. With that one quiet act, people on the ground now knew something was terribly wrong. But knowing was not the same as being able to help. As long as the airplane remained in the sky, the hijacker still held the advantage. So the captain had to do something far more difficult than sending a signal. He had to keep Raimundo talking. He had to keep him from losing patience. He had to create delay, redirect the flight, and open space for survival where no space seemed to exist. Captain Murilo looked out at the clouds. He told Raimundo it would be difficult to identify the presidential palace clearly in weather like this. He said they did not have enough fuel to continue safely to Brasilia. He suggested Goiânia instead. A short detour. A quick refueling stop. Then he implied they could continue. Raimundo listened. And slowly the aircraft drifted away from Brasilia. The Brazilian Air Force was already watching. A Mirage 3 fighter was scrambled from Anápolis Air Base to intercept the Boeing 737 and monitor the flight. But even with a military jet nearby, the real danger was still inside the cockpit. The hijacker was armed. He was within arm's reach. And he could kill again at any moment. The captain could not simply land the plane. He had to create the moment himself. As the aircraft approached Goiânia, Captain Murilo made a desperate decision. He threw the airplane into two violent aerobatic maneuvers, a barrel roll and then a spin. For the passengers, it must have felt like the end. They had already heard gunshots. They already knew something was terribly wrong. And now the airplane itself was moving in a way no commercial flight ever should. Some of them may have believed in that moment that they were about to die in the air. But that violence was not surrender. It was resistance. The captain had no gun. No backup in the cockpit. No physical power over the man standing beside him. What he still had was the airplane. And he used the only tool left to him. The second maneuver worked. The hijacker lost his balance. And Captain Murilo brought the aircraft down at Santa Genevieve Airport in Goiânia at 1:45 in the afternoon. But landing did not end the ordeal. The hijacker still had his gun. The captain was still effectively his hostage. And the crisis, now on the ground, continued for hours. Raimundo demanded a smaller aircraft so he could continue his mission. Authorities did not rush in recklessly. They waited. They negotiated. They bought time. An Embraer Bandeirante, a small propeller aircraft, was brought in to meet his demand. Captain Murilo agreed to fly it. He told the hijacker he would go with him. It was another delay. Another calculation. Another act of composure under pressure that should have broken anyone. Hour after hour he kept Raimundo calm enough to prevent a final explosion of violence. Then at around 7 in the evening, after roughly 9 hours of terror in the air and on the ground, Raimundo began descending the aircraft stairs. In front of him, used once again as a human shield, was Captain Murilo. This time the federal police were ready. As Raimundo stepped down, a sniper opened fire. He was hit 3 times. He fell. And as he fell, he fired one last shot, striking Captain Murilo in the leg. The captain ran. He made it to cover. Raimundo Nonato did not die at the scene. He died 2 days later, after being wounded during the final confrontation. His condition was later reported to have been complicated by sickle cell disease. It was not a perfect ending. It could never be. Salvador Evangelista, the co-pilot, had been killed. That loss does not disappear because others survived. And Captain Murilo, the man who had kept 98 passengers alive through an extraordinary act of composure under extreme pressure, was never formally recognized by the government he had protected. President Sarney, the man Raimundo had wanted to kill, never publicly acknowledged the captain's role. Not once. Years later, when American investigators searched Osama bin Laden's compound, they found something unexpected among his belongings. Newspaper clippings about the hijacking of VASP Flight 375. The idea of using a commercial aircraft as a political weapon had not disappeared. It had been noticed, preserved, remembered. But here's what that story leaves out. the reason it failed. Not because of fighter jets. Not because of government intervention alone. Because one captain sitting next to a man who had already killed, refused to surrender his judgment. He kept thinking. He kept buying time. He kept the aircraft out of the hands of someone who wanted to turn it into a missile. And in the end he walked down those stairs in front of a loaded gun. Because he had already decided that the lives of 98 strangers behind him were worth more than his own safety. Some heroes do not look heroic in the moment. They do not make speeches. They do not know how the story will end. They simply refuse second by second to let disaster take the final step. That is what happened on VASP Flight 375. And that is why more than 30 years later it is still worth telling.